There's a new term that I've never heard before that I've just seen popping up in my social media the last few days. And I said, I got to go to Nurse Nicole over at Nightingale College and have her explain to me what this is. Because I don't know it. It's Pandemic Pod. And on the show this morning, Nurse Nicole. Hey, Nicole.
Hi.
Pandemic Pod seems to be the new phrase that I'm not hip enough to know. Maybe you can explain to me what it is.
So Pandemic Pod is the idea of creating a social contract with friends and family. So you have an agreement around the safety of exposure to COVID-19. So about looking at, are you comfortable with people in your family who you're going to hang out with without masks, without going to restaurants, or I even think of college kids. I was talking to a friend the other day who was talking about how the college kids all gathered together to play board games.
Yeah.
Well, and then they come home, and they're the largest group of transmitters without disease signs. So the 15 to 24-year-old age group is more likely to transmit disease and not have symptoms. So when they're coming home and hanging out with you, having some agreements with your children and your college-age children around what constitutes your level of comfort and safety as a pandemic pod.
That's interesting you mentioned that, because when you think about it, I have some friends that they're our next door neighbors, and they have kids our age who are young, and they work from home, we work from home, so we feel pretty comfortable with them. But I have other friends who have kids in high school, and I never thought how those kids could end up having, asymptomatic, right, and then pass it on to, say, us or even our grandparents.
Right. Well, and so having a conversation with those kids about what they do and how they protect themselves and how it's important to your family and grandparents. Lots of people have underlying disease conditions, whether they are aware of some insulin resistance or hypertension, right? All those things increase risk factors for more severe disease states with COVID.
Okay, this is going to sound very strange. I'm going to go back to middle school, and I remember in middle school my sex ed class. And they used to teach, this was a long time ago, things have changed, but they used to teach, like, when you kiss someone, you've kissed every person they've been with. Like that.
Oh, I hate
do you remember those?
charts.
Okay, yeah. And I keep thinking like this but as Nicole's talking COVID, it's kind of the same thing. When you're with this family, then you're with every person they've met.
You're kissing every person they've ever kissed.
Like, am I crazy to take that leap?
I don't think it is, because it's really 1 degree back. Even like with my daughter, she lives with a couple of roommates, and 2 of them have, my daughter included, has more safety restrictions on herself. She wears her mask everywhere. She doesn't dine out. She has a roommate who doesn't. I'm still being exposed to her roommate. So, yes, I would agree.
I know it's a weird way of explaining it, but really that's what popped in my head. Yeah.
It is difficult. I think with the Utah mandate changing, I think that changes some of that. And hopefully for the better, especially as we're rolling into Thanksgiving and the holidays. If people are wearing their masks more and washing their hands more, then we're just all safer.
We're talking to Nurse Nicole with Nightingale College. Hey, I got a question for you that's outside of the pandemic. It has more just to do with nursing right now. I mean, as we hear of our hospitals being overrun and, everyone's working so many hours, do you see more people kind of stepping up and saying, you know what, I want to be the hero. I want to be a nurse. Like, are we seeing people kind of go towards that calling?
We are seeing a lot of people move towards nursing and exploring the option of helping people out and taking care of people and, being the hero.
In fact, if someone wants to reach out or learn more about Nightingale College or read about the Pandemic Pod, how can they do so?
Learn about it at nightingale.edu, and there's a COVID-19 site, and then there's also information about our school.